Hey folks, we're back. That's right, a second season of the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show after every green and white game. Join me along with my co-host Kyrie Zaber, the former NFLer and CFLer, and accomplished high school football coach Ryan Hall, as we break down each week's game for you. And new this year, we will welcome your telephone calls. So yeah, it's like a regular call-in show. Call in, we'll chop it up with you. Can't wait to have another fun season. It's the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. All right, welcome to the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show, Week 12 edition. Rough Riders lose to the Calgary Stampeders 32-15. We're taking your calls. Like you to weigh in on this one. Only the Riders' second loss of the year. They dropped to 8-2. Calgary improves to 7-4. The number to call, 306-992-6955. Now, 306-992-6955. You can always get a hold of us on social media, the chat, the different boards you can comment on, either Ballsy Uncut on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. And hey, like and share. That's how we continue to grow this show and in turn promote the game that we love. Not sure too many Rider fans love today's game as they lose 32-15. I'm joined by Ryan Hall. I talked to Kyrie Zaber, the former Blue Bomber, Cincinnati Bengal, played for a number of CFL teams, actually, the Alouettes too, and the Angry Bird will join us for the Labor Day edition. But I got my friend Ryan Hall, who was in studio last week. He's at the end zone where he likes to hang out at the lake. Ryan, thanks for joining me. Now, in the game in July that was the smoke game, and both teams had some adversity, and Calgary had to go and sleep 4 to a dorm. 75% of the team, 25% got to go back to the Hotel Sask. I don't know who those 25% were. But Calgary came back, and they handed the Riders their lunch at Mosaic Stadium. Pretty convincing win. It was the only loss of the year for the Riders. Now, I put a little asterisk by it and said, okay, listen, I don't want to be too critical of the Riders. Both teams had issues. Now, the Riders got to go home to their own beds, but when you go back home, you got the dog, you got the wife, you got the kids. You don't go to sleep right away. And so you probably talk about the game. So I just kind of discarded that a little bit. But like I said, I put an asterisk by it. I wanted to see what the Riders would do against the rested Calgary Stampeders team. And then I would make the decision. But I did say, Ryan, I thought Calgary's lines dominated the Riders the first meeting. And I'll tell you what, that was the case again today.
Yeah, no question on both sides. The Rough Riders offensive line really struggled. Like, I think they gave up 4 or 5 sacks. And Calgary wasn't blitzing very much. Maybe they'd bring 5, but a lot of times they're getting sacks with 4-man or even 3-man pressure. And then on the other side, like, Saskatchewan's been racking up the sacks all season, and they didn't get near Vernon Adams today. He was really clean and comfortable in the pocket. And so yeah, I think you're right. The play along the offensive or the line of scrimmage was a huge factor in this game.
Now, you were mentioning sacks. Calgary had 4 quarterback sacks. The Riders did not get to Vernon Adams Jr. Almost got there a couple of times, but he used some elusiveness. Here's the thing with Calgary. Calgary can dominate the interior of the offensive line of the Rough Riders, and that takes Trevor Harris, the immobile Trevor Harris, off his spot. Now, Harris did scramble, actually, for a first down in this game, and his long pass to Keyshawn Johnson, he eluded the rush and got out and threw it, Ryan. But Calgary has a recipe. If you can pester the inside of that offensive line, Harris is, he's not that fleet of foot, so he can't get outside the pocket. And they were bringing blitzes, which Hamilton did early, then got beat by a double move and went away from it. But Calgary's kind of showing you a recipe now to beating that Riders offense.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I don't even think it matters that Trevor Harris isn't the most athletic guy in the world. Like, there was one sack where I don't care that could have been Patrick Mahomes in the backfield. The rush got there so fast from Harris's blind side, like he was on his butt before he knew what was going on. That was the one that came from the outside. But like you said, the pressure up the middle, it looked to me like the Riders guards struggled a lot this game. Again, because there's 5 offensive line and only 4 or sometimes 3 Calgary players rushing, they got a double team on on at least one guy, and they were still messing it up. And you saw it the one time with the sack on the right side of the Rough Riders line where Hardrick stepped to the outside, the right tackle, the right guard stepped to the inside to help Furlan when the rush went across Furlan's face to the left side. So I don't know what the guard was looking at there, and gave up the easy sack on Harris on that one. So yeah, just like looked like not only physically they got outplayed, but mentally they didn't seem to be in it as well on the offensive line.
So you're right about that. That Hutchings, number 96, he is a handful in the interior there. He's almost unblockable one-on-one. I think that's what happened on that sack you were talking about when Trevor Harris got smoked by Peterson. And you're a guy that's into tackling with your tackling camps. What a textbook target there. Like he hit him like just below the chin, but not where he'd get a penalty. Like, what did you think of that quarterback sack? Just the way he did it. He performed it.
Yeah, like the type of tackle that he did there in safe contact, we call that a hit up tackle. It's kind of like your traditional form tackle. And the strike zone for that is kind of the low, just below the chest plate. And that's where you want to get your shoulder pads so you don't have the helmet-to-helmet contact. So he was pretty close to that. He was maybe just a little bit high, but in a game, you're never going to get perfect technique. But yeah, still was a very good tackle. He came in. He didn't, he didn't lift Harris up and plant him. He just finished the tackle. He didn't lie on top of him. He kind of popped off as quick as he could. I wasn't sure, excuse me, in the NFL if they would have, given him a penalty for landing with his whole body weight, because they have that rule in the NFL, which I'm glad we don't have in the CFL. But that one, I don't know. They didn't really show Harris too much, but they showed him getting up, and to me, he looked a little bit wobbly, just for a second or two they showed him. And then Harris came in for one more series after that, and then he sat down. And so they were talking about that on the broadcast. So I don't know if he sat down just because they didn't want him to get beat up anymore, or maybe because he was already beat up and they wanted to just get him out of the fire and put Mayer in there to get some reps.
Yeah, absolutely. I that was what I was going to ask you. So he got up a little wobbly. He went to the tent, and then that was it. And were you surprised that with 4 minutes to go in a 3-score game, you took him out of the game? Like you were waving the white flag in the CFL with 4 minutes to go. You took him out, and you took A.J. Ouellette out of the game.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened. Like we said, I think Harris was a little bit banged up, and it's not like he had been lighting it up anyway. So if he's banged up and he hasn't been playing great for 3 out of the 4 quarters, are you losing that much in the last few minutes of the game to put the backup in who's fresh and not banged up? And same with Ouellette. Ouellette's just the kind of guy that runs physical, and when you run physical, you deliver some punishment, but you take a lot of punishment. And, there was some time, and I thought Ouellette had a really good game. I thought, I don't know where you're going to go with Riders' offensive player of the game, but I like the way he played. But still, like in the second half, you could just tell there's some times he's getting up after plays. It takes him a while to get himself up. He kind of looks like me trying to get up off the couch as a guy.
Yeah. So Rough Riders lose the football game 32-15, and they drop to 8-2. Calgary improves now to 7-3 coming out of the bye. And the Stampeders, very athletic, physical football team, and they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And they've also won the season series now against the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, taking over, handily in these 2 games, winning this one convincingly 32-15. Okay, we're going to take a quick break for a sponsor and be back with our takeout of the game. The Italian Star Deli, providing Regina and area with quality specialty products since 1966. When you visit the Italian Star Deli, you're truly part of the family. So drop by any time and they'll help you find whatever your heart and palate may desire. Whether you're looking for olive oil, specialty meats and cheeses, pasta, sea salt, vinegar, canned tomatoes, or one of their mouth-watering famous sandwiches. You're sure to find it and so much more at the Italian Star Deli, 1631 Victoria Avenue, Regina. All right, the Italian Star Deli, thanks to Carlo Giambattista for being a big supporter of mine, not only like in terms of money, but a friendship. I really like that guy. Quality individual. Halsey and Ballsy. Ryan keeps going in and out of screen, so I don't know if we've dropped or if he's there. Jacob says, I take this post-game show over any radio post-game show. Thank you very much, Jacob. Ryan's back there. Ryan Sean says, hey, Ballsy and Ryan, is that a Tarkenton jersey on a Bears fan wall? Is that true? Is there a Fran Tarkenton jersey on there?
No, it's almost the same era. It's not quite as old as Fran Tarkenton. That's my 1984 Cairnport Cougars high school football jersey when we won the 9-man provincial championship in Saskatchewan. So
okay.
No, don't worry. There's no Viking stuff. Well, no, actually there is a little Viking, but I got a story behind that one. But yeah, anyway. Okay. No, it's an old high school jersey. Thanks for the question. Oh, that's hilarious.
I would have said, Sean, that maybe he was a That's Incredible fan. Remember when Fran Tarkenton was on That's Incredible? He was the third host. I don't know if Sean's old enough to know that. Okay, I gotta say something here. I've been wrestling whether to say it or not. Okay, because
people say whatever you want.
Yeah, people can be critical of me too. They have been, and I'm the one sitting here not in traditional media, so take it how you want to take it. That was the game of the week, for sure. Billed as the game of the week. And it was the game of the season to this point, okay? But in my business, the broadcasting business, if you wanted to show a broadcast journalism class, technically, on the air, whatever, what not to do, then you should show them that broadcast. Why would we have that? This is supposed to be the best game of the week. And that's what we put out there. They don't give us injury updates. You and I had to speculate why Nelson Lacombo wasn't on the field. Then they say he's hurt.
A quarter later,
and then they're saying, "Whoa!" and now Exume gets a chance, and they go right at him. Except he's been playing corner for a quarter and a half. He got beat on the touchdown in the end zone. Okay, that's just one of a myriad of things. The sideline reporter calls them the Roughnecks, not the Rough Riders. They say a touchback on the broadcast. There's no such thing as a touchback in the CFL. I'm sorry. I'm not God's gift to broadcasting. But if that is supposed to be the best game of the week and of the season, don't give me the D team. Give me the A team. I want Hannibal. I want Mr. T. I want the A team doing the game.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Right. I love it when a broadcast comes together. Let's get some shit going. Like, promote. Have the best broadcasters. Have your best team. Like, sorry. Hold on a second.
Who's the A team? Who's the A team in the CFL broadcast?
Well, okay. Well, here's the A team. It's easy. This isn't a comment on any one particular broadcaster, okay? But if it's Friday night football tonight, that's supposed to be their Friday night football's their marquee, right? Am I right? Okay. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So here, hold on. So if you are doing the Grey Cup is going to be broadcast in Winnipeg. Who's going to be calling the game? I'll tell you who's going to be calling the game. Rod Smith and Glenn Suter, with hopefully Luke Wilson on the sidelines because he does a great job, okay? So Friday night football should always be Rod Smith and Glenn Suter and Luke Wilson and whoever they want to have for their dumb interviewer on the sidelines. Because not that the interview's dumb, but the sideline interviews are dumb. Are we in agreement sideline interviews are dumb? You never get anything out of...
In any sport.
Yeah.
In any sport.
Yeah.
They're ridiculous. Like, same thing in hockey where they pull guys, coming off between periods and they try and do... Like, those guys don't want to do interviews, or coaches. They don't want to do interviews. It's just something they have to do and I think they hate it. And most of the time, they just give you a couple cliches and
Yeah.
try and get away from you as quick as you can.
It's the same bullshit. So here's the thing. Why is it so hard to figure out? Okay, so if I tune into, we're into the NFL here. The NFL's the big league. Well, let's do what the NFL does. Okay, so does the NFL on the marquee game, would they tell Joe Buck to sit this one out and bring Jay Glazer from the sidelines and put him upstairs in the booth? So I like Farhan Lalji. I think Farhan Lalji is a good broadcaster. He's been doing it for years. But I'm sorry, if it's the marquee game, Farhan Lalji's not doing it. Dustin Nielsen calls play-by-play lots. Maybe at a prior,
I like Dustin Nielsen.
Maybe at a prior commitment. But Dustin Nielsen lives in Edmonton. Bring him down to Calgary and have him call the game. And if you want Dwayne Ford in the booth, fine, whatever.
And I'd rather have Ford than Suter, especially Ford with Nielsen. I think they're a good pair because Nielsen brings a lot of excitement and Ford isn't super exciting, but he gets a little bit more excitement. He picks it up from Nielsen. Rod Smith, I think is still really good too.
My point is this, Halsey. When you tune into Monday Night Football, you know it's going to be Joe Buck and you know it's going to be Troy Aikman, and they're going to have whoever their sideline is. You're listening to Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. You're listening to Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. If it's my marquee game, if it's my game, then that's it. But I got Paul LaPolice doing 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 games of color commentary. How about this? I'm not a big TV executive, I get it, but how about, you know what? We have him on. And every time we have him on the sidelines, he does a pretty good job. And he saved us in the smoke game by punting footballs, and we could joke with him. And he saved us last night in the injury game where he brought up some great stories from his Seahawk days. How about we let Luke Wilson do one of those 3 games that Paul LaPolice was supposed to do, and let's throw him in the booth. They gave Paul LaPolice a start, but let's have this. So if you want to talk Bush League and you want to talk about give a shit, then how about my main broadcaster give a shit? Am I wrong about that? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And people will say maybe.
No, and I like what you say. Like, I like LaPolice because I like his coach's perspective. Like he's. Yeah. He looks at the game kind of like I look at it as a coach. But I think it'd be tremendously interesting to have Luke Wilson do some commentary. Like, I know he doesn't have any experience, but he knows football and he's an interesting dude. And I think he'd do a pretty good job. I'd tune in and watch.
I get more out of Luke Wilson's 2 minutes. I get more out of Luke Wilson's weight. He gets 4 hits a game at about 40 seconds a time. I get more out of his 3.5 minutes than I do the rest of the week on TSN in terms of knowledge of football. Like, he does a spectacular job in the short time he has.
Oh, no. LaPolice, he gives lots of good. And Ford, too. Ford and LaPolice, they give good analysis. They notice things. They're sharp guys, I think. I
don't think they're not good guys, and I don't think they don't know football. One played in the CFL and one coached at a high level in the CFL. I just like the way Luke presents it. I'd like to see him. Yeah. I'd like to see him get a shot doing it. It's not a
entertainment value. He'd be.
My point is this. This was the game. This was the big game. Everybody's tuning in. Then give me a top-notch broadcast. And I'm sorry. If we can critique football players and people can critique me, I can critique them. That was not a good broadcast today on TSN. That was not a good that was a failing broadcast. If that was a football team, there'd be dudes on the practice roster being cut. I'm sorry. That's just the way that it is. Now our takeout of the game. Initially, I had Tavon Campbell's hit an open field on the sidelines there on Dedrick Mills because it was a solid hit. It wasn't a dirty hit. There was no. I see you going like this. There was no.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
There was no wrap up. That was my honorable mention. The hit of the game was Peterson's sack. The takeout of the game, Peterson's sack on Trevor Harris.
Yeah, I'll definitely go with you on that one because it was clean. It was a good, solid tackle. It was a football play. No going in to just try and nail somebody. He was just going to make the play that he's supposed to make in his position. So yeah, I love that decision.
Okay,
I definitely take that over that body check by Campbell.
And that's the thing about Campbell on the Dedrick Mills long run after the first drive of the second half. Dedrick Mills comes through. He gets low bridge, I think, by Fields. They don't chop his feet out. Campbell comes in to help, but Campbell doesn't tackle. He just throws his shoulder in there, and Mills bounces out and goes, like, you got to tackle, man. And then on the touchdown pass on the sidelines, he was covering grass.
Yeah, I don't know what he was looking at, because he was standing like on the goal line or just in front of the goal line. And you don't need to protect in front of the goal line. You got to protect the end zone. And there's a receiver wide open behind him. And again, that's just vision. Like when you've got your eyes in the backfield the whole time and you don't have wider peripheral vision, noticing where receivers, who are your real threats, the quarterback in the backfield is not your threat if you're a corner. There's the slot back that's lined up on the inside, coming from the inside and curling in behind you. That dude is the big problem. But if you're just locked in on the backfield, you're not going to notice him. And that just kind of hung Milligan out to dry, because Milligan had deep coverage. Campbell had underneath coverage, but Campbell, just, instead of dropping and getting into the zone that was a threat in the end zone, he just sat in the short zone and like you said, was just covering grass. There was nobody there.
Speaking of hits and takeouts, no real earth-shattering takeouts, but I have to say this, man. I've never been a huge fan of Nelson Lacombo as a safety. I think he's a better corner. He started on the corner and then was out after the first or second series. As Tyson says, yeah, horrible on TSN. I think they mentioned that Exume came in to take over in the third quarter for Lacombo, but Lacombo was out after the first series. Absolutely horrible. That's what I was talking about. And I actually got my update from you because you texted me and said you saw him on the sidelines in street clothes and crutches. So I don't know. I hope he's not hurt too bad. I love that kid.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
He's a great kid. But anyways, my point is this. I was going with this, okay? Your guy who you taught him in high school, Jackson Ford. Now, I think Ford was, it's different in practice when guys are, when it's game speed, you're learning on the fly, so you're going to make some mistakes. I think he got burned down the rails on one of the Baldwin plays there, down the sidelines.
In the first quarter?
I think it was in the second quarter. It was right before the touchdown by Philpott when he was running down the rails on the far side. I don't know for sure, but it looked like his eyes were in the backfield there. But Jackson Ford is a physical player. He's a smart player. He made some great tackles. And I do think the Rough Riders going forward need to stick with him at safety.
Yeah, you're right that there's a difference between practice reps and game reps. And I think Jackson played quite well in the exhibition game. So he did get a little bit of game time at safety in the exhibition season. But again, that's not the same as the regular season, especially playing a game like this. So I think he did a nice job stepping in there. He was not afraid. He was not intimidated. Like, he was flying up and trying to get involved physically in the plays. And I think that's just one thing that's one thing I think he's maybe got over Nelson a little bit, is just his aggressiveness to really make a decision and go after it, like to step up and go up and support on the run, or to stick his foot in the ground and break on a receiver and go make a solid tackle or try and make a play on the ball. And I think Nelson, just because he's not really comfortable in that safety spot, he's not quite as aggressive. He's just a little bit more tentative, even though he's a great athlete.
Yeah.
So I thought Jackson, for his first start at safety, I thought he did a nice job. He got in on a lot of action today. It wasn't like we never saw him. Like, 21 was in the picture quite a bit. So yeah, I was proud of him today.
Hey, Leander, can you scroll so I can see that one that's just above? Like, yeah, go down. It was from Peter. Peter says, having Lapo in the booth is like having Bobby Petrino or Hugh Jackson in the booth. Lapo has like a 150 winning percentage as a head coach in the league. Is this the best we can do? Well, okay, so I guess that's from Peter, not my words.
Well, you're not that different, I don't think. In your
I think Lapo wasn't a good head coach. That's been proven. Although in fairness to Lapo, he did take the Blue Bombers to the 2011 Grey Cup, remember, where they lost to the BC Lions on home turf there when BC won the first of 3 in a row, home teams winning the Grey Cup, which, by the way, I hope the home team wins the Grey Cup this year. Just throw that in there. But, yeah, so but he has been a great offensive coordinator. Like Lapo knows how to design offenses and has had some success there. So he's not a dummy in the booth. That's not what I mean, and that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
What I meant was today was not a good broadcast for TSN, and why the hell do we have Paul LaPolice doing 3 games? Now, this comes from Tyson. Tyson says, I thought a punch was an automatic ejection. If that was the case, Thurman and the Calgary player on the opening kickoff of the second half should be gone. There was like there was a little bit of a jaw jack in there, and
they
I
were
saw
jabbing at each other's each other's heads.
Yeah,
I think he poked Thurman in the chin or something, and then Thurman gave a little shot to the face mask. Yeah, and there was no call on either of them. Yeah. And then they showed it and they replayed it, and they never really commented on it. They just kind of said, "Oh, something went on there with those guys," but they didn't elaborate on it. So that's a good point that something more should have happened there.
Hey, back with Ford for a second. I want to go. There was a couple of plays defensively that I'd like to get your insight, since you've been a defensive back and you've coached defense at a high level. So one of the very first deep balls of the game to Dante Myers, the Calgary defensive back, it was hand fighting. He kind of had his left hand here at the start, but then got his right hand to bat it down. Then later in the game, Vernon Adams goes up top to Clark Barnes, and I thought great job by Jackson Ford. There was hand fighting, but he was in tight. I didn't think one was more egregious than the other. I think they both should have been non-calls. I didn't even think the first one. And I'll tell you right now, that's the one thing in the NFL I like way better than the CFL, okay? They let hand fighting go. There's no way that was a PI, that'd be a PI call in the NFL. They would laugh at that.
Yeah, so you're talking about the one early in the game,
right at the early
challenge, right? Yeah, exactly. Like the replay was right, because the replay, there was like you said, there's a little bit of hand fighting. So okay, if we're going to go letter of the law, you can't overturn it because there was a little bit of a tug on the hand. The problem was the flag should have never been thrown in the first place. That was super, super ticky-tack. There's no way that's pass interference in real life. Like maybe it is in the rule book, and that's why they couldn't change it with the replay or the review center or whatever it's called. But that I was, again, disappointed in the officiating that they would throw a flag on something like that, because that was nothing. That was just good coverage.
And at the same time, they let Fords go, which I thought was the right.
Which was the same.
Yeah,
his was good too.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I thought it was great. That was great play by Ford, and that's how I want to see it called. That's what I don't like about the CFL as it relates to the NFL. Okay, we'll take another sponsor break and be back with more. By the way, our phone phone calls. Give us a call. We'd love to talk with you. We're nice guys.
We haven't had a phone call in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, some people, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say we've had many calls in case people are just tuning in. Come on, Hall. It's about I'm trying
to guilt people.
I'm learning how to sell, man. You got to sell it. No, people maybe, as Leander, our great producer, said, maybe you guys are so knowledgeable with football. Well, you are, Ryan. And I'm so high-strung, people could be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. Call your football friends, Halsey and Ballsy, 306-992-6955. It's the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. Remember to like and share the show as well. Ward Tire Craft Regina, proud to be the last of the small-town style tire and automotive shops in the city, prioritizing the happiness of their customers and the safety of their vehicles. They've had some of the same customers for over 40 years, including yours truly, which is why I asked them to come on board as a sponsor for my shows. For all your tire and mechanical needs, go see Michael Barth and his crew at 101 Dudney Avenue. Tell them Ballsy sent you, and you get 10% off. All right, the drive of the game for Ward Tirecraft. By the way, I just want to say how this show works, and it works for Rough Riders, okay? Sam Emelis reaches out to me, says, Ballsy, do you know of anybody that could help me help with my brakes? I said, you damn rights I do, Sam. I said, Sam, go see Michael Barth at 101 Dudney Avenue East at Ward Tirecraft. He'll hook you up. He went there. He thought he needed a whole brake job. All he needed is to get the glazing shaved off. You know, sometimes in your brake pads, you can get that glazing, and it sounds like your brakes are going because they're squealing and everything like that. That's all that needed to be done. But he goes in. Michael Barth treats him right. Go tell him Ballsy and Halsey sent you, and you get 10% off 101 Dudney Avenue. All right, time for our drive of the game. I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to go. I don't want this to be, it's not anti-riders. Hey, the riders are eight.
I got one in my mind too. I want to see if we're thinking the
okay,
same
thing. So eight, the riders are 8-2. This isn't anti-riders. I still have a lot of people I consider friends on that team. There'll always be something in here for the riders for me because I grew up wanting to be a Rough Rider, wanted to be the voice of the team. Broadcaster game for 20 years. But I'm going to go with my drive of the game to open the second half, the Calgary Stampeders. That was the one that really, you were like, okay, the Stamps are up 14-2. Then the Riders start coming. And then you're like, okay, the Calgary's on the ropes. What are you going to do, Calgary? And they come out and they dominated on that drive, and they did it on the ground. On the ground. And you know, we talked about this last week. You have to run the football in the CFL now. Even though it's a passing league, a lot of these teams are playing zone. They're daring you to beat them underneath, to run the ball, to throw the short to intermediate routes and maybe get yak yards. They're not letting you go deep. And, just carry on with what I'm saying. That is the drive of the game.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking the exact same thing because Calgary dominated the first quarter, no question, even though they had some penalties and a bad call and stuff like that. Saskatchewan totally dominated the second quarter and had all the momentum and took the lead at halftime. And then Calgary comes out to start the second quarter, just body shot to the Riders' defense. And that totally swung the momentum for the rest of the game. So, yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. That Mills, like I texted you, that was the Mills drive. He just took over at that time, and that turned the game around, and Calgary never looked back.
So let's talk about the quarterbacking here again, okay? So this is an interesting stat that did come from TSN. So tip of the cap to TSN or getting the stats from the CFL and dropping it in here because I thought Farhan did a good job of this. It's something like Vernon Adams we could see good VA, and you're seeing it this year with the way he's been able to fit the ball in certain windows for touchdowns, like the one in the back of the end zone to Baldwin, who, by the way, somehow Calgary found another big receiver. On the sidelines to Brooks between Milligan and Tavon Campbell. Just dropped it in there for the touchdown. So VA can make some great throws, but he can also make some we have bad VA with the interception after Trevor Harris's first pick, okay? Just he stumbles, then he's like, I'll just make it up and throw shit against the wall and hopefully it sticks. And that could hurt Calgary in a bad spot. But the one thing about Vernon Adams is he doesn't turn it over in the red zone. It's something like he's got like 90 touchdown passes and only 4 interceptions in the red zone, which is was a crazy stat, if that's the right stat. But that is a crazy stat, and that bodes well. But I want to go to this, okay? So Trevor Harris, and you pointed this out to me. Like you and I text a lot during the game, okay? I like it. I love texting you, my buddy Sean Kleisinger, a friend of ours, and I love texting.
We got to get a 3-way text going with Sean.
Yeah, that's right, and my son. That's, by the way, that's the only time I'm going to encourage a 3-way with you and Sean.
A 3-way text.
Three-way with you and Sean. That's the only way. Anyway, I'm texting you about the interceptions that Harris is throwing, and you said, hey, Ballsy, that's 3 INTs on outs. And I thought that's interesting. But this comes from Peter. Can you roll it up? Peter's been busy on here, and he has some good comments. So Peter goes, the last interception for Harris on the field side out was picked off because the timing was thrown off by Harris having to move up in the pocket. Those outs are all based on timing, and he's right about that. Like when you're throwing those outs, if you're even off by a second, it's picked off. Now, the Hamilton one the week before was just a great, outstanding play by Talbert or whatever. But
coverage.
But Peter has it right here with the two. With at least that first one to the far side, even the second one that Onyeka picked off.
Yeah, I would say the first one, Calgary got lucky because that was zone coverage.
Yeah.
And so Harris is throwing the ball, and the halfback was just like he was just running out to his zone. He had the flat, so he saw the receiver in his zone. He was just running to him and turned his head around and was just in a perfect spot to make the interception. So I think Harris maybe just didn't see him releasing out to the flats there. And then and he's exactly right. So who was it? Peter, did you say?
Yeah, Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's exactly right when he talks about timing. Like we've talked about that before. Passing offenses are 100% based on timing, and if you throw off the timing by pass rush or by disrupting the routes of the receivers, then a lot of times bad things are going to happen. And that second one, I think he's exactly right. That's what happened.
So let's talk about this for a second. I think it's cool because for years you might get a Tavon Campbell playing corner, or you might get the Paul Waldews once in a while, or Davis Sanchez, who had a cup of coffee with the Chargers and then came to BC and Montreal. Now is on the TSN panel. But now, like the Riders today, they had Nelson Lacombo and Tavon Campbell as their corners and Jackson Ford as their free safety, which is cool. And then
three Canadian DBs. That's unreal.
That's awesome. And then you had Godfrey Onyeka come in. He's replacing Adrian Green, the Canadian who got hurt. And that was just, I want the football more than you, taken away from Dante Myers. And that, when you're a corner, talk about the mentality you need there. Like you got to make a split-second decision.
It's all about confidence. The hardest thing to do as a defensive back is to finish pass coverage. Like, you can have great back pedal, great turn, great trail position. You can be in the perfect position, but it just takes a combination of skill and confidence to be able to, turn your head, get your hands out in the right place, and be able to finish either knocking down the ball or even better like that one, ripping the ball out of the receiver's hands. So, yeah, I just thought that was a great play. Like the ball was a little bit inside on the out route, and just because the receiver broke, or the DB broke so aggressively, he had great position, and Myers kind of was reaching back a little bit, and he didn't have the good grip on the ball, and so Onyeka just ripped it out of his hands.
I wish some of you people would call in with this stuff at 306-992-6955. Like Peter's fired up here. Maybe Peter doesn't want to talk. Peter's like, speaking of the lackluster commentating, they don't even acknowledge the thing about timing on the throws. They just say, oh, it's picked off. He steps in front of it. He goes, I'm in my underwear with a bow in my hand drinking, and I give better analysis. That's
well, yeah. And you and I have talked about that before. So many commentators and play-by-play guys too. I mean, play-by-play guys have to watch the ball.
Yeah.
Because that's their job. They've got to call, just what happened, kind of the obvious stuff, who made the play, who made the tackle, who made the interception, whatever. But the color guy's job is to say why it happened. And like so many times you just hear color guys talking about, oh, he made a great catch or he made a great interception. Well, we all saw that. But why? What did he do to make the great catch? Or what did the quarterback do to make the great throw? Or what did he do to make that great interception? Or, who made the key block on that big run instead of, oh, that was a great run by Willette. Yeah, but what about the downfield blocking by the receivers? I don't – and again, LaPolice, he does that. I'm going to give him credit because, again, he looks at it as a coach. He knows what goes into success. Get your eyes off the ball and look at what's making the plays happen.
Hey, we got a call. We got a call. I have no idea who it is, but let's go to the phones and say hi to somebody. Oh, this is Ryan Douglas from Moose Jaw. Ryan, how are you, bud?
Hey, how's it going? Not too bad. Yourself?
Good, man. What's up?
Just calling about the game. I guess first off, I'll say I thought you didn't mind texting me about the game sometimes too.
Yeah, I like texting you. Yeah, I text you once in a while too. Absolutely.
I'm giving you a hard time here.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I like I love. Hey, if I can't be doing the games, which I would have been doing, I thought I'd still be doing. I just love texting with my friends. I like picking the brain. You're a knowledgeable football guy. Ryan Hall's a knowledgeable football guy. My buddy Sean is. I love talking to my kid because my kid gives me a different perspective on what goes on because he's actually a professional football player. So anyway, what do you got, Ryan?
Yeah, no, I think that'd be pretty interesting to be able to talk to Ethan about that.
Yeah.
But I guess a couple points is one is I don't know what it is. If Calgary's O-line and D-line are just that much better than ours. I mean, to me, that's sort of concerning. Also, I don't know, last game, the one in Regina against Calgary, I thought our quick passing game really helped things out and bail us out in that game. And I don't know if guys just weren't getting open today or Trevor was just holding on to it a little bit longer, but it seemed like in the second half of the last time when we were playing in Regina, he just was getting it off a lot quicker in the second half as opposed to today.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was, Ryan. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate the call, and tell all your friends I do appreciate your friendship too. Him and I we just met as listener and radio guy, and during Grey Cup week we went to the brew house and had a couple of drinks and just talk football, which I love. That's the great thing about the CFL fans and accessibility and everything like that. So Ryan, what did you see maybe in the difference between, like, why, as Ryan Douglas said, why couldn't the Riders maybe get the ball off and get those short underneath routes, where Harris excels at?
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good observation by Ryan. I think maybe it was just the difference in play calling, because in the first game, the run game was not working at all. And so they had to rely on the short game, just for those possession receptions to try and get positive yards, instead of, chucking it downfield every time and ending up 2nd and 10, just try and get 5 yards on first down, get rid of it quick on a little hitch or a quick out or a curl or something. But because the run game was working today, it didn't seem like they needed to do those short passes, other than they threw a couple, I think, to Ouellette out of the backfield, just those little checkdowns out to the flats that he sometimes catches and takes upfield. So the one thing that I maybe thought, and this may be a little bit different than what Ryan's saying, but because the run game was working today, I thought the Riders Mark Mueller could have maybe tied in a little bit more play action, try and get that happening, because that'll slow down the pass rush a touch and open up a zone a little bit more than if you're just dropping back to pass all the time.
Oh, Ryan wanted to talk some more. Okay, Ryan, call back, man. Call back. You want to talk some more? I'm okay with that. 306-992-6955. I appreciate you wanted to talk more. Call back. Somebody wanted to see, Tyson wanted to know why wasn't Sales playing. He wasn't listed on the injury report all week, and then Jeff weighs in maybe family issues.
They said on the broadcast that he was sick.
Okay. So maybe
I texted you before the game too, and I said, like, where's Sales? And when I saw Nelson was lined up at corner, but because I didn't see the same. I didn't see him on the injury list either. But they said on the broadcast that he was sick or something. So maybe he got like a stomach thing or whatever.
Okay, yeah. So there's the analysis from Ryan Hall. Ryan, if you want to call
that
back,
was from the TV guys.
Well, no, that's good that you. They did. They told us. That's good. Okay, we're going to take another sponsor break. And Ryan Douglas or anybody else, you want to call in 306-992-6955. Yeah, we're open to talk. I shouldn't have knocked you off so early. Sorry, but there's a pause and I thought you were done. Okay, we'll be back in a moment. At JLB Electric, their mission is to provide top quality residential and commercial electrical services in Regina and surrounding area. They're committed to delivering efficient, reliable, and affordable electrical solutions, including new construction wiring, renovations, service upgrades, and 24-hour emergency assistance. Their team of licensed electricians ensures exceptional service from start to finish. They prioritize safety, customer satisfaction, and expert workmanship. As Regina's trusted one-stop shop for electrical contracting, they are dedicated to powering our community with excellence. You know how I like to highlight athletes, Ryan, and you do too, as you've been a high school teacher and coach, grade 7 gym teacher, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like phys ed teacher right now, right?
Kindergarten to grade 7.
Or kindergarten to grade.
Got the little ones, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Haley Woodhouse from Tiny Dilk had one heck of a Canada Games in St. John's, Newfoundland this past week. 200 meter, silver. 400 meter, silver. 4x100 meter, silver. 4x400 meter, gold. She is going to run track in the fall at the U of S. And yeah, so I just want to give her a shout out. Maybe get her on Ballsy Uncut.
So how old is she? Like 18?
Yeah, just graduated high school. Yeah.
Wow, good for her. That's awesome.
It is. That's crazy, man. That's outstanding. Great to see these young athletes excelling, not just in the world of football. Okay, the lit play of the game. Okay, so I thought this was a great play all the way around. Vernon Adams scans the field, dumps it out on the crossing route to Jalen Philpott, who, if you had to pick, would you pick Jalen or Tyson Philpott? You got to start a team today. Would you take Jalen or Tyson as your receiver?
Ooh. Well, Tyson's been healthier, right, in his career?
Well, except for now. Well,
Okay, yeah.
so he's out now, but he's going to be coming back. As they did say in the TV broadcast, Farhan said they take their turns being hurt and everything. Who would you take?
I don't know who I'd take. Like, I watched those guys when they played U Sports, because they when my son was playing for U of S, he played against them. So yeah, I don't know who I'd pick out of those two, but Jalen had a great game today.
Yeah, so
he was definitely one of the. I would pick either him or Adams or Mills as offensive player of the game for Calgary.
So this is the JLB Electric lit play of the game. So great play by Vernon Adams Jr. Scans the field in the green zone, the score zone, the red zone. He dumps it off on the crossing route, coming across his face, and in a trail position is Jackson Ford. Now, I didn't see we obviously don't have the all 24, so I don't know, and I don't know what Jackson's responsibilities are, though. But Jackson comes over and makes a hell of a tackle. Like, he gets him. He's probably going to bring anybody else down at the 2 to 3 yard line. But this kid stretches and scores the touchdown. That was the lit play of the game all the way around, including, credit where credit's due, the TV broadcast. And when they came back, Dwayne Ford, one of the highlights of the broadcast, said, look at the shadow. This shows he scores. Because you could still see the shadow when the ball crosses the line, and then boom, it just fades to black, right? There's no shadow anymore. So that was great analysis from Ford, and that was just a great all-around play. That was the lit play of the game, in my opinion.
I wonder how many people realize the athletic ability it takes to do that. Like, to have somebody tackling you around the legs and to lay out, keeping control of the ball, keeping your knees off the ground, like having your body extended in order to try and get that ball breaking the plane before your forearm goes down or before your knee goes down or anything else. Like, it takes a tremendous amount of athletic ability. So I love that decision. That's a good choice.
And I liken that in some cases to when a guy runs a guy down, it looks like it's going to be a easy touchdown, and the guy runs him down and tackles him, and then they have to settle for a field goal. Now, the average fan might say, oh, well, okay, yeah, that was a good play, but I mean, if he doesn't get in there, they're at the 1, they score anyway. Not necessarily. Like, that is a heck of a play. That's the difference between as you look at it, having a 3-score game or a 2-score game at that point. But you know what I mean? That touchdown adds up at the end of the game.
Yeah, there's no givens, because you get stopped on the 1-inch line in Canadian football, you got to go back to the 1. And now a 1 yard is not a given, even though the defense is a yard away. Speaking of which, I wanted to bring up that short yardage play that Calgary had, where I think it was 3rd and 1.
Quincy Vaughn. Vaughn.
The Riders stopped it. Like, Dalkey was right there, had his shoulder leaning into the quarterback. The quarterback was stopped for at least a second. I think it was close to 2 seconds. I'm like, where's the whistle? And then I don't know if he got himself pushed again, or if somebody pushed him, and then he got that extra 6-9 inches or whatever and got the first down. Like, his forward progress was dead. Like, I don't know what those refs were waiting for. Like, it was stopped. There's nothing happening. And then, like, 2 seconds later, he gets the extra that he needs to get
good point.
That was bad officiating there on that play.
That's an interesting point and a very good point. Here's something to consider. So in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers game, like, we could say whatever we want about Chris Strebler, like maybe he's not your prototypical passer. I've said this before. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback, but a great athlete, okay? And we saw
football player.
Yes, we saw that in the Montreal game when Winnipeg had injuries. He had to come in and play receiver, okay? How many quarterbacks do that? So he's kind of a bigger version of Taysom Hill in New Orleans, right, when Sean Payton was running it. So He does that. Quincy Vaughn gets drafted by the Stampeders, and he's actually a lead blocker in some of their short yardage situations too. Instead of just being a quarterback, they've used him there. And then you got
Strevler, when he was in at receiver, he was blocking most of the time. He wasn't running routes.
Right.
He was coming in and blocking. And blocking on the edge.
And then you got Tommy Stevens, who's unstoppable with the Rough Riders. He's only been stopped one time, like Chris Strevler, only been stopped one time. So it's just interesting how we're seeing those third quarterbacks, used differently. Now, Quincy Vaughn, a draft pick, a teammate of my son's at UND. He, a little cheaper than Tommy Stevens. I just wonder, like, Tommy Stevens is automatic. I'm surprised they didn't try to retain him in Calgary.
I guess, you gotta, like, the roster is so thin, you gotta just decide what do we want to take? Like, do we take a third quarterback, or do we need an extra offensive lineman or defensive lineman or something like that? So maybe it was a roster thing. Maybe it was a ratio thing, who knows what went into that. Because, it's kind of like Philadelphia with their brotherly shove and stuff. Like, if you've got a virtually unstoppable short yardage play, that makes a huge difference in a football season.
By the way, I don't like that play. I think that's garbage. You can't do that.
Well, it's illegal in Canadian football, which is good. You're not allowed to push a ball carrier in Canadian football.
Tyson says, hey, Harris looked out of it after the hit. I agree with Ryan, he said. Apparently, it was his legs were cramping, reported by someone. Well, that's what they'll tell you.
Oh.
That's what they'll tell you. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. He did come back in the football game. I think they were just saving him because the Riders just couldn't control Calgary's defensive line. Jeff wants to know why I'm not doing the fifth quarter anymore, the post-game show on the radio. I haven't been doing that for a couple of years. Because I was the radio announcer for the voice of the team. I can't really say right now, Jeff. I'd love to, but I have a thing I signed called an NDA, so I just have to zip it right now. Believe me, I could write a book, and maybe one day I will, because there are lots of stories. Let's put it this way. I know where bodies are buried. That's what I'll say. Anyway, we'll move on. Okay, we have another break, and
that was kind of a crap disturber question there.
It was. I like that. That's good. Hey, I answer the questions. You want to ask questions? We'll answer them the best we can. I just can't because I have I'm getting paid money. And I'm being quiet, like non-disclosure agreement. Can't say. Let's go to, but it's helping me bring you this. And Jeff, Tyson, Peter, Ryan, are you liking what you're hearing? Like, are you liking what you're watching? Jacob said earlier this would be the post-game show. He'd take over any other post-game show. Why wouldn't you? Nobody's smarter than Ryan Hall. Yeah, he didn't play professional. He didn't play professional football, but he did play high-level junior football. He's been an accomplished coach at the amateur level, runs tackling camps. He's coached a lot of stars of tomorrow that turned out to be stars of tomorrow today that turned out to be stars like the emerging Jackson Ford in the secondary of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Okay, time for a sponsor break. You want to call in, do so. 306 992 6955. Payson Insurance specializes in helping hard-to-insure people get coverage. They also offer a range of financial management and investment services to help secure your future. People care most about their money and their family. I personally trust Kevin. Best way to describe dealing with him are the 3 C's. He's comfortable to deal with, he cares about your future, and he's confident in helping you make the right financial decisions. Payson Insurance. Give them a call, 306-596-0244. Yeah, thanks to Kevin Payson. He looks after my insurance and money. Here, Leander, can you get me some water? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That guy, Leander does a great job behind the scenes keeping us.
Yeah, he bailed me out last week, too.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You got to get that throat looked after, dude.
I've had this problem for 10 years, and I've been to every test and x-rays and
yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
No health problem. Like, you're healthy though?
Yeah. Like, they haven't found anything. They can't figure it out.
Well, don't leave me because you're very reliable. I like talking to you, man. Okay. So, on the money, There were some good ones from Vernon Adams Jr., but I'm going to concentrate on Trevor Harris, who, by the way, here's an interesting stat. For the first time in 13 games, he has not completed 70% or better of his passes. He was 15 of 23 today, so that's 65% by my math. 65% completion percentage, which is good for mere mortals, but not for Trevor Harris. And so that ends a streak of 12 straight. Tyson
He had
wants
those 2 drops in the first quarter.
Yeah, and that's where that's where I'm going with the on the money. Okay, he had one on the money that was down the left rails by the Calgary bench to Robustelli. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
Robustelli played 5 high school games in 1 year of college football. Was a flag football guy before he's now playing professional football. That's a great story in itself. Had a rare drop. And he had a touchdown pass to Keyshawn Johnson. And who knows if that doesn't set things up in a different light for the Rough Riders. But
Right.
Harris is...
Then you get the missed field goal after that.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah, and I'm holding that to the end. So Mark Mueller, we both think has evolved as a play caller. And you texted me, and I always give credit. I don't make it sound like it's my own stuff. You said that was an aggressive call on 2nd and 3 when he threw the corner route towards the Riders bench on the far side of the field to Keyshawn Johnson. It was right on the money. That's one Peter said earlier about making throws. You don't have to have the strongest arm when you throw it deep. Now, hear me out. You have to sometimes just have the right timing. It's when you throw the ball. So, like, I might not have the strongest arm, but if I know my guy's going to go, which is the advantage you have on offense, if I know he's going to run that corner route or that quick speed burst out, then I can throw that ball before he comes out of his break. The DB doesn't know where it's going, so you quote-unquote throw him open. It has nothing to do with arm strength. That was that type of throw. Now, I will put a disclaimer in there. Keyshawn Johnson was offside by a yard, but they never called it on the waggle. But all the same, that's my Payson Insurance Services on the money play right there.
I like that because it was a great pass, and like we said, it was a key situation. It was a 2nd and medium, 2nd and 3, and you weren't necessarily expecting that. You were expecting maybe a run or maybe like a 5-yard hitch or a little swing pass or something like that. But yeah, to go downfield like that and throw a dime like right on the money, yeah, it was a great pass.
So we got this from Tyson. Tyson wants to know, hey, your thoughts on Ali Saad, the Canadian high draft pick. He looked like he was on a kid on skates. Maybe he's young, but I want your thoughts. Looks like he's been bullied the last few games. I don't know if you paid attention much to 96. I did see him, as Tyson said, he was taking a couple of backward steps in the game, but I wouldn't say he was alone in that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I didn't really, kind of put the spotlight on him at all when I was watching. So I can't give an intelligent answer on that one. That's a good question.
But like I said, he wasn't alone. The Riders, it goes back to one of our first comments. The Riders were pushed around once again on both sides of the lines, except for the second quarter where, and at times AJ Ouellette running the football. Like it wasn't a total collapse on the offensive line, but they've had better days, let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And, sometimes there's just some teams you don't match up very well with. They're maybe not necessarily the best team in the league, but against you, they play great. And it just seems like that's kind of the situation with Calgary this year that, Calgary, what have they lost to Ottawa twice? They, or for sure once.
Yeah, twice.
So I don't think they've showed they're the best team in the league. But when they play Saskatchewan, they sure look like they're the best team in the league. And again, it's just maybe, just kind of the matchups of players or the matchups of play calling. And sometimes you just get that nightmare. Like I coach in high school for years, there was always, or a lot of times we had those teams too, that they weren't necessarily the best team standings wise, but they always played us tough. They were always kind of like, oh, geez, these guys they're a nightmare.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I will say this, and I'm going to stand on this, and I said this to you after the game when Calgary was here. The Calgary Stampeders are the most athletic team in the CFL. I think player for player, they look like, just by eyeball test, like, yes, Montreal has a great front. I think Montreal's got a pretty good front seven, obviously, on defense. But I think offensive, defensive, player for player, quarterback, everything. Calgary's got the most athletic team in the league. That's how I feel. Riders are good too. Riders have some good athletes too. I'm not saying that. But I think Calgary's the most athletic team. And I think their athleticism showed today.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think when I look at the Rough Riders, I don't think they're the best team talent-wise in the league. I don't think they're the most athletic team in the league. I think they're outside of playing Calgary, I think they're the best team in the league. Like we've talked about this before. They don't do it relying on a few superstars. They rely on everybody. They rely on every offensive lineman, every defensive lineman, every receiver, quarterback, whatever. Like everybody kind of takes turns stepping up a little bit in the game and being the 100-yard guy or the 3-sack guy or whatever. But in general, it's somebody different every week. So that's why I still I'm optimistic about the season that, I think there's still that team. And if they can, just keep doing that and stay relatively healthy and get some guys back and stuff, then that's, that should pay off when we get later in the fall.
Little pause here. My Padres beat the Dodgers 5-1 tonight. They've won 2 in a row against the Dodgers, and don't look now, but you can't buy a championship. The Dodgers have spent all that money, and the Padres are 1 game up in the NL West. I know you're not a big baseball guy, but I'm an underdog guy. Absolutely. Not like the Padres don't spend money, but I'm absolutely loving it. My Padres, beat the Dodgers 5-1. Okay, we're going to take a break. Waldo's Warriors, and then we'll talk about the rest of the goings-on in the CFL this week quickly, and then we're going to talk about the most interesting Labor Day Classic coming up in my lifetime. And I didn't have this on my life bingo card. Waldo's Warriors, appropriately named after Paul Waldo, the local football legend, played for the Thunder, played for the Huskies, 3-time Grey Cup champ, and still coaching the Stars of Tomorrow today with the U of S Huskies. Well, now he's taken his talents to the real estate game with the home expert team on Vic Avenue East. If you want to get in the real estate game with the 3-time Grey Cup champ, give Paul and his team a call, 306-502-5355. Waldo's Warriors. And let's start on the Rider side of things. Offensively, I had Keyshawn Johnson, but you liked A.J. Ouellette, you said.
Yeah, I liked A.J. This would be 2 weeks in a row picking A.J. Ouellette. I think, just because he was reliable every time the team gave him the ball or gave him the opportunity, like he did everything he could. Keyshawn had a good game. But, of course, he had that big drop early in the game that we talked about. So he had a great game. I just thought Ouellette did the hard work, the grinding work that he's been doing a great job of this year. So he would have been my pick. But
so I'll defer to you because he did have the big drop, Keyshawn Johnson. He did have a big drop, which could have changed the whole complexion of the game. Riders get out of the gate. They got half the crowd or over half the crowd was green and white. By the way, nice 28,000 fans there. I got another rant. Okay, I'm going to stand up for this one.
Ooh,
so
must be serious.
No, well, so TSN, this isn't against TSN. Like TSN has just on the broadcast, because they sell sponsorship, you got all those it's like they would in hockey, right? Like if you go to a hockey rink, the actual rink board advertisements are different than what they're on the TV, right? You'll see it in replays. Oh, there was no Canadian Tire, but there is on the boards. But okay. So on the football field, they have like the superimposed I don't know, Mr. Lube. I'm just making up sponsors, right? On the field, right? But they're not there. Because you see when they go to replay, they dump it out. Well, it looked dumb because and it's not necessarily TSN's fault. The big horse logo there at midfield goes off when they go to replay, which is a pet peeve of mine. I'm really pet peevey when it comes to broadcasts. But here's the thing I don't understand. You just bought new turf at McMahon Stadium, and you couldn't put the Stampeder actual logo, the horse at center field? I don't understand that. I don't get it.
I think a lot of fields now they're kind of going away from that, and they put the logos in the end zones instead of in the middle. Like I guess in the NFL they still do that. Hey, they still have the logos in the middle.
Yes.
But maybe because in the NFL, like those stadiums are only for that team. Like nobody else uses that field. Nobody uses that stadium unless they do a concert or something. They cover it up. But in Canadian stadiums, like they're using those fields for soccer and university and junior and high school and who knows what, field hockey. You know, they're using it for all sorts of stuff. So maybe they try and keep the fields as just plain as possible, just because of the multi-sport use. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, so my defensive player of the game.
I don't know why you're so fired up about that, by the way.
Just
like you must be in a bad mood today.
It just bugs me. It just bugs. I just don't like Bush League. Like if you're gonna spend $2 million on a fucking turf, put the logo on it. Or paint it on. Like, come on, everything's half-assed with this league. Like, go all the way. Okay, the defensive player. I'm going to give it to Jackson Ford because Jackson Ford got to play safety. His name brings a lot of weight, and it brings high expectations because of his grandfather. And for a first outing as the starting safety, he played before safety. I know he had a key knockdown against the Bombers in a game I was calling to win, I think, a Labor Day Classic. But I'll give it to him. I thought Jackson Ford made some good tackles. He was noticeable out there in the secondary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was around the ball a lot, which is what you want from your safety. Like, you don't want somebody that's never in the picture. You know, you want them coming up and being present. And then when the ball did come at him, he made a play. The one time that Calgary went at him over the middle there, he was in perfect position and didn't let the receiver get to the ball. So, yeah, there wasn't really anybody that throughout the game is kind of like noticeable. You know, like Carney had the nice knockdown or deflection, and Milligan had the interception and stuff like that. But yeah, it was kind of like that was their one play, and then they didn't do a whole lot else other than that. So of course I'm not going to argue if you're going to give it to Jackson Ford.
Now, Jameer Thurman did have the interception, 7 defensive tackles. So, I mean, stats-wise, he looked good. A.J. Allen, another solid game with 6 tackles. Revis with 6. Jackson Ford had 5 tackles and the coverage. So I'll go with Jackson Ford. Calgary Stampeders, their offensive player of the game. I'm actually going to go with Dalen Baldwin, like Calgary with these big receivers. Baldwin, number 86. He had a touchdown grab. He had 3 catches for 84 yards. No Tevin Jones, no Rhymes, and he steps in and does a great job. I'm going to go with him. I know you like Mills. Mills on the ground today had 16 for 78, a lot in the second half when they swung the game. So I could go either way there. So maybe a little from your column A and a little from my column B.
But I like your dark horse pick. Like, I wouldn't have even, I didn't even really notice Baldwin having a good game like that. So I'm okay with that. Guy just kind of having his first big game. That's good.
I hope this works for me because I'm feeling old these days. But
I can't see. What are you doing?
I'm drinking water.
Oh, okay.
Derek Moncrief. Sipping from the fountain of youth. That guy had 8 defensive tackles, 1 for a loss. I mean, great with the Riders. Looked like his career was probably at the end of its rope with Edmonton. Still a local guy. He's married to one of the Suds sisters from Suds Car Wash, right? Just had a baby, and he's my defensive player of the game, my warrior, Waldo's warrior.
He was really noticeable early in the game, and the commentators talked about him, just the fact that he had been in Saskatchewan and then went to Calgary last year, I guess. But that's a really good game, and I don't mind cheering for Derek Moncrief. Like, I think he's a really quality guy, and I did a football camp with him a couple of years ago up in Prince Albert, and he's great with kids, and he's just that kind of guy. So, but he's still playing well, still playing at a high level, and kind of too bad that there wasn't a spot for him here still, but he's making a good spot for himself in Calgary. Now,
the name is eluding me. I'm trying to find this here. Just bear with me. On special teams for the Calgary Stampeders, I just want to get their roster up here. Give me 1 second. Because here's something that the crew never talked about, once again, on TSN, okay? So Calgary Stampeders roster. I want to find their roster, and I want to go here. Give me a second. No, I don't want that. I just want to make sure I get the number right. I'm sorry for this, folks. It's not really good. Kyle, I believe it was, I want to say it was Kyle Wilson, I think. He was either that. Yeah, it was Kyle Wilson. I think he's the guy that laid out McRae and smoked McRae returning the ball. And McRae fumbled. Fortunately, for the Riders, they recovered. It was a bang-bang play. There was no penalty. It kind of looked helmet to helmet. And the ball popped out. But we never saw McRae again. So I don't know if he was benched or if he was hurt. They never told us. We once again never got an update from TSN. But that was, I'll give him the special teams player. Honorable mention to Rene Paredes. I could give it to him every time he hit the 53-yard field goal. But that's just solid downfield coverage. And, those guys, they just love making those plays.
And those are big. That was almost a huge play. If Saskatchewan didn't recover that fumble, that would have been devastating for them, because I think that was around the 25, 30-yard line or something like that. So Calgary would have had great position if they would have been able to get the fumble. Yeah, so that's 2 weeks in a row now. Last week he had the one that kind of was fighting the wind and it bounced off his shoulder or his face mask or something like that. And then this one was more from the collision on the tackle, I guess. Yeah,
so now the special teams player for the Rough Riders, I'll probably go with, I think I'm going to go with Kosi Onyeka, number 31. He made a couple of special teams tackles, and he was around it. Like I always say, special teams, I have more of appreciation for it now that I have offspring doing it. It's the ditch diggers of the the ditch diggers of the CFL are special teams guys. But somebody's got to dig a ditch. They're instrumental for drainage. And same thing here. Like, somebody's got to be a special teams demon and make plays. So I'll give it to Kosi Onyeka.
Okay, I'm gonna say two things. First of all, I don't think special teamers are ditch diggers. I think they're skilled athletes. There's so much skill and technique and strategy that goes into covering a kick or blocking on a punt return or those kind of things. Like, those guys are football players. To me, the special teamers, they're the football players, because they got to play in space. They got to cover big areas of the field. There's huge swings in field position. So I love my special teamers, and you know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give an honorable mention to Myers for the Riders, because he stepped in when McRae went out. Like, we've talked about this before, returning punts is very hard. And he stepped in and on punt return and on kick return. And, he didn't do anything amazing, but he was solid. He secured the ball. Most of the returns, he got positive yardage. There was one near the end of the game where he was trying to make something happen. And, he might have lost, might have lost a couple of yards on that one. But I thought he did a good job filling in for McRae when he got hurt.
Got a great text here to talk special teams. You got a couple seconds here, Leander?
Yes.
Leander's a busy dude, but you got time to hang in there, buddy? I'll buy you some beer at another time, okay? Sound good? You're going on a big holiday coming up here. Yeah, Leander's in a big holiday. I'm actually operating the game. I'm doing everything by myself after the Labor Day game, so that should be a real shit show. We'll really be missing Leander. So here we go. This comes from the dean at the Edwards School of Business, the dean of the show, who always gives us CFL simulations. He sends me a personal text. And this is what he says, and this is what I was holding to the end. Edwards School of Business in Saskatoon at the U of S, by the way. Keith Willoughby, as Ryan pointed out. Riders were exposed tonight, especially their kicking. Lothar's kicking has been shaky all season. In the June road game versus Hamilton, he was 2 for 5, but we managed to eke out a 5-point victory. In the next week versus Toronto, we led 31-24 when Lothar missed a short field goal. The single put us up 32-24. Toronto tied the game, but Alford returned a kickoff for a touchdown when Toronto kicked it to him and only had 11 men on the field. So they outdid us with bad special teams. Key point is that Lothar's kicking was suspect all along, but got camouflaged by Rider victories. Tonight, we were absolutely and completely exposed. He is a smart football fan. He's a season ticket holder. So I bring this up to you, Rider Nation, anybody paying attention. Once again, I'm going to go on record. I like Brett Lothar. Whenever I was covering the team, one of the first guys, he will always stand in the locker room and take the criticism. You saw it this week, okay? He does so much for the Rough Riders off the field. And career-wise, he has an 82% career kicking percentage coming into the season. Problem is, he's 22 of 34 this year, I believe now. He missed what was shorter than a point-after attempt. He is a reason why they could tell you it's the wind. He's a reason why they go for 2 points now in a lot of cases. And today, in a 3-score game at the 43-yard line, 3rd and 5, they elected to go for it. And Charlie checked down, Trevor Harris dumps it down to Ouellette, doesn't get the first down, and then coach says the game's over, we're pulling you dudes out. They never let Lothar kick it. I'll be shocked if Brett Lothar plays another game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I think at this point, that's it for Brett Lothar, and I think that was the indication right there. That is an absolute, we don't trust you anymore.
We saw that last week a little bit, and, we talked about it, and, last week was quite windy in Mosaic, so, we talked about the wind being tough, and, maybe that was a factor, even though it didn't really affect Hamilton's kicking last week. But yeah, I think we've run out of excuses. We've run out of, but he's such a great guy in the community and he's such a great person and that kind of thing. It's the talk's been around. You've said it numerous times. It's going to come down to a point sometime late in the season, late in the regular season or in the playoffs, when it's a 2-point game and the ball's on the 43-yard line, and what's going to happen?
Yeah. And so I think it's time to, they signed Campbell Fair. Dave Naylor, I didn't listen to what he said. But something, he said they signed another kicker too, an American, or they're bringing in an American kicker. I have no idea. Somebody told me they heard him say that. I didn't hear that. Tyson says he's cost us 36 points this season. Jeff says that's why we've signed a new kicker. Pat says, I agree, Tyson. He's cost us too many points this year. Ryan says, they need to sit Brett, even if it's just for a game or two. I don't know if Brett Lothar this year is mental. Now, I'm just going to say this year. To me, it feels like this is all mental now. This has nothing to do with physical. This is in his head.
The yips.
Maybe he has to sit down for a game, but I don't know that does he have the mental capabilities of coming back from this year? I just don't know. Sometimes Boris Beattie was great in Montreal, signed the big contract in Edmonton, and couldn't hit water from a boat. That's where Brett Lothar is right now. Brett Lothar, he's a hockey guy. Brett Lothar is like I am to car sales right now. I've had a horrible month of car sales. I've had lots of people come in. I've been busy. One of my salesmen goes, "How many do you got out this month?" I said, I don't have many out this month. Well, you've been so busy. I said, yep. People have bad credit or they decide not to. I couldn't, as a car salesman, if there was a 2-foot tap into an empty net, I'd put it in the corner. That's where Brett Lothar is right now. If he had a 2-foot tap in for an empty net goal, he'd put it into the corner, maybe the 4th row of the rink.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that. And that's, like, I'd never heard this term before, the yips.
Yeah.
Until I watched Ted Lasso and what's the yips? Well, it's when an athlete can no longer do the basics of their sport. Coach Beard describes it like that. And yeah, that just seems to be like, it's not that he's less athletic or anything, but there's just something going on. I kind of wonder, like, that going way back to 1989 and the turnaround, the run that the Riders got on late in the season and got into the playoffs with a 9-9 record and then upset 14-2 Edmonton and won the Grey Cup. By the way, I feel like I'm you and Keith Willoughby talking right now. Like I actually know something about history and I can remember details.
16-2, actually, though. 16.
Was it 16-2? Was it 18 schedule?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
All right, I screwed up. Okay, I'm gonna quit pretending I'm in the same league as you and Keith. But anyway, like that, they had a sports psychologist that came in, right?
Yeah.
And had a big impact on the team, did a lot of work with the team. And I mean, I have to believe that they have access, the riders have an access to a sports psychologist, for their players and for their staff and whatever. And I would think that Brett would be doing everything within his power. But yeah, I don't know it's gone on a long time.
Okay, couple of things before I get to the life-changing thing that's going to be happening for my family coming up here next Sunday. So, are the Edmonton Eskimos for real with Cody Fajardo as their quarterback? People are all, they're a team to be reckoned with. And they are better. They are better. They are better. But they beat Ottawa. Ottawa's not very good. They beat Toronto. Hold on. Toronto, still not very good. And they beat Montreal without a quarterback. Okay? So I'm going to, if Edmonton can, in their Labor Day matchup, if they can win in Calgary this week or win one of two, then I'm going to start to buy some Edmonton Eskimos stock. I'm on hold right now. They are coming. How do you feel about the Eskimos? Are they for real?
They're for realer. They're definitely for realer. Like,
yeah.
They're not finding multiple ways to lose like they did in the first third of the season. Now they're finding some ways to win. So it's something that I think we talked about earlier in the season when we talked about them. Like, they're trying to change everything there with Chris Morris in charge. They're trying to change the culture. They brought in a new head coach. They're trying to, bring in the right players and that kind of thing. And that takes time. Like, you don't change culture overnight. It's going to take time. You don't learn how to, a team together, one team doesn't learn how to win together, how to struggle through tough games and injuries and disappointments and bad calls and stuff like that. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And like I said earlier in the season, I think Edmonton and their followers and stuff, they just have to trust the process. They just have to trust that it's going to kick in. Things are going to turn around. And I think they are starting to turn around. And they do need to be reckoned with, because they're not a free space in the bingo card anymore. I'm not saying that they're going to make the playoffs, but they certainly are showing that they're heading in the right direction. They're trending in the direction that a team should be trending, that's trying to rebuild and turn things around.
How do you feel about how Trey Ford makes some of these tackles? Tyrell Ford. Last 2 weeks, he's undercut guys when they're going up to make a catch, okay? We talk about hits on a defenseless receiver. I've never saw him penalized one time. Like, remember at the start of the year, they're saying you can't hit a guy when he's left his feet, and twice he's undercut guys where they do the, ass over tea kettle, could have break their neck, no penalties. How do you feel about that type of hit? Because you're the guy that's the safe tackling guy. He wasn't penalized. Right. There's nothing, and that's what I don't get about the officiating in this league.
Well, and that's what I don't get about the rules. Like, the rules are pretty. I think there could be a couple simple changes when it comes to those kind of plays, those bang plays, on receivers over the middle that are in a somewhat defenseless or totally defensive situation. But when we talk about tackling, we talk about the strike zone. So the strike zone is, kind of like in baseball, it's armpits down to the knees. So if and you lead with your shoulder pads, so your shoulder pads are coming to make contact somewhere in the strike zone, and then you're using your arms to try and wrap up and make the tackle, anywhere in the strike zone, that should be fair game. That's playing within the rules and the spirit of the game, and playing aggressive, but not trying to hurt somebody. And yeah, like, when a receiver is doing that, like, they're not a threat. They're not a threat to run you over. If AJ Willette's running at you, okay, yeah, well, maybe you're gonna go down low and you're gonna try and take him out below the knees. But there, he's not defenseless. There he can see you. He's got a head of steam. You know what he's going to do. He's going to lower his shoulder pad. So going low, okay, well, that in that situation, it makes sense. But yeah, I don't see why you have to do that coming in on a guy that's jumping up to make a catch. Why you don't just come in with the shoulder pads and wrap up the upper legs and then take them down. And if you wrap them up, then they're not going to do that like you said, excuse me, that ass over tea kettle thing, where they could land on their head and have a serious injury.
You've coached in a lot of situational things, and we talk about situational coaching. This one is a question. Question for you. When teams are backed up in their own end zone, why don't they take safeties anymore? Case in point, Edmonton punting almost back of the end zone, and after return, they're already giving up 3 instead of 2. Now, I get anything can happen, like turnover or whatever, but why do teams want to give a free point? It's still a free point. Why not give up the 2 points and then kick it away to them instead of when they have the return, they're already in field goal position, which he's right. Pimpleton had him right at the 35 after the return.
I think they changed the rules in the CFL a couple of years ago, where because it used to be when you gave up, like in amateur football, if you gave up a safety, you kick off from your own 35-yard line. Which is not bad. A normal kickoff in amateur football is from the 45, so it's from the 35. You can still kick and put the team back in their own end. But I think in the CFL, they changed it to try and get rid of safeties. They moved the kickoff back, so now you're kicking, quite far. I don't know what the
25.
the line
I think it's a 25
okay,
yard.
yeah. Yeah, so kicking from the 25, now you can't get it as deep, and so, I guess maybe that's why teams don't do it as much. But, yeah, you certainly don't see it, especially, especially being backed up, like kind of in the shadow of your own goalpost where you're hunting around your goalpost or whatever. It's strategic. And again, the safety is kind of part of the game that, like in the American game, it's not the same. In the Canadian game, it's been a lot more of a factor historically.
2 more minutes, Leander. Sorry, man. Just hang tight, okay? So, the Argos are going to have a decision to make. Chad Kelly, a little bit high on himself, earlier this week said he's the 32nd, he's in one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the world, which would mean he'd be an NFL quarterback. I like Chad Kelly when he plays. I'm not commenting about him off the field, but dude, you haven't been here very long. Okay, you haven't even played 2 full seasons in the CFL because of injury. So let's pump the brakes on how great you are. But don't look now. Objects are closer than they appear. Nick Arbuckle wins the MVP of the Grey Cup. And Nick Arbuckle has been anything but a problem for the Argos. It's been their defense. It's been the problem. I don't know if you saw it today, Ryan. He threw for 432. 2 touchdowns to some Herschlow dude that I've never really heard of. I knew who he was, Jake Herschlow, but he's starting to come on. And they whipped the BC Lions 52-34. Now, part of it was BC. I'm sorry, the Lions were always my second favorite team. That was a pathetic performance on defense. They can't tackle, they can't cover, and they can't rush the passer. Otherwise, they're great on defense. But Arbuckle, I mean, maybe Kelly comes back this year, maybe he doesn't. If he doesn't, next year, I predict right now, Chad Kelly's playing quarterback somewhere else. One of those dudes is a starting quarterback somewhere else. This is the Nick Arbuckle that people thought they were going to get in Ottawa. Remember when he was in Calgary and he left?
Yeah.
Who was he with in Calgary? Oh, he was with Ryan Dinwiddie, his quarterback's coach. Now he's starting to emerge. Chad Kelly. He'll be a quarterback of some other team next year. You watch. That's what I think.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I saw the score and I heard the stats on Kelly. On Arbuckle, and obviously he lit BC up.
Yeah, BC. They might be the crossover team, but good luck if you can't play defense.
They're not looking great. Yeah, and even like Rourke, he's most of the time really good, and then sometimes he can't hit a 10-yard dig. He'll sail it over the receiver that's wide open. And today one of those passes, Franklin took it back for pick 6. Okay, let's get to it now. Somebody asked me earlier, are you going to the game on Sunday? Yes, I am. The post-game show will not. First one.
The post-game show will not happen. I'm going to stand up for this while I wrap the show up. The post-game show will not happen right after the game because I got to get home from the game because I am going to the game.
Good for you.
And I'm going to be wearing blue and gold at a Labor Day Classic, and that is something on my life bingo card that I never would have thought. But there will be, my son has collected from his teammates 20 pairs of tickets minimum right now. He's going to Colaros, he's going to DeMario Houston, he's going to a bunch of guys asking for tickets. So knock on wood, he's still going to be on the roster, which would be a run of 6 straight games. And I will be at the Labor Day Classic. The very first one I got, my most special one, was in 2022. It was my 50th birthday. It's always my birthday weekend, September 1st. So I drove to Grand Forks and had supper with my son for my 50th birthday. He would fly to Nebraska, and I would drive to Nebraska the next day. Got there. My buddy came as a driving partner. We hung out with my brother and my cousin who flew in from Alberta, because I'd given them my tickets, Ryan, because I thought, well, there's no way I could do this because the Labor Day Classic starts at 2. And our friend Sean Kleisinger, who you called games with on the Ram broadcast, great. By the way, best U Sports broadcast ever when those two guys did it.
And it was so fun. We had so much fun.
So Zinger, as we call him, he goes, well, Ballsy, it's a 5 o'clock kickoff. You can make it. It's a 1 hour time difference in your favor. So I got in the car, drove to Grand Forks, had supper on my 50th birthday with my son. He flies, charter, I drive. It's a 15-hour drive, by the way, from Regina. Get to Lincoln, Nebraska, party that night. Not going to lie, I drank my face off. I don't drink, but we were partying. It was great. The town's all red and white except for a few of us in green, right? Go to the game, kind of hungover, leave the stadium, and I'm not lying to you, Ryan. It takes me longer to get out of a Regina Pats game than it took me to get out of Lincoln Memorial Field to my hotel and on the interstate. It took me 20 minutes. It takes me 45 minutes to get out of the Evraz parking lot there. And
I believe it.
I got on the road, drove 15 hours, got to the Labor Day class. I had 1 hour of sleep. Called my very first Labor Day game, Riders-Bombers in 2022. Riders lost, but I'm thinking, this is like, I got to see the game. My son played, Lincoln, Nebraska, right? And then got to call the game. I said, nothing's ever going to top this. Until this coming up this Sunday, man. Like, I did not have this on my bingo card, and I'm really pumped. The Bombers are probably going to have Schoen back. Zach Colaros is starting to hit on all cylinders. I'm expecting, I don't know anything, but I'm expecting Dembski to be back. He banged his head, but I think he'll be back. Not sure about Stearns.
What about Stern?
I'm not sure about Stearns, who's having a great year, by the way, former Rider receiver. But Ontario Wilson was just released by the New York Jets, the receiver. Don't know if he'll be ready in time to play, but I would suspect he'll be back in Bomber colors. Not sure for the Labor Day, but maybe the Banjo Bowl. Things are lining up for the Blue Bombers. They've got 10 days off now. They're getting healthy. Colaros look good. And that's the only offense in the CFL that runs through the running back. Did you see Brady Oliveira take over that game against Montreal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I did for sure.
Yeah, so it's going to be weird, but I'm looking for – this is going to be a great game. Like, I know it's usually the Riders win and then Winnipeg wins. But don't look now. If the Bombers can take 2 from the Riders, all of a sudden the Riders have gone from first place to potentially third place, depending on what Calgary does, and they're back-to-back with Edmonton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this game today was, it's one game, but it made things a lot more interesting as far as standings go. And then, like you said, next weekend is going to continue to make things interesting with Edmonton improving, and, will Calgary be able to maintain the way they played today and do that next week? And then will the Riders last time when they played Calgary and played a bad game, they came back and played great. They had a great bounce back and came back. And I think it was Montreal. They had a really good convincing win against Montreal to get back on it. So if they can do that again, kind of make next week the Labor Day Classic the ultimate get right game where you take advantage of the big crowd and hopefully beautiful weather and the rivalry and stuff, and you come and get right against Winnipeg. But if they don't, like you said, if Winnipeg start aligning for them and they start hitting their stride at this time of year, then yeah, it's going to get really interesting as we continue into the second half of the season.
Well, I think the West is shaping up to be a 3-horse race now. Like, I think those are the I think your crossover team. I predicted Riders Bombers Grey Cup with the Bombers being the crossover team, but I think after watching the game today, I think BC's if there's going to be a crossover team, it's the BC Lions. I know we still have some runway to go, but like the Bombers have won the season series with BC. Calgary had the season series against Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, which is huge for the Stampeders. And now it's just the Riders and Riders and the Blue Bombers, with 2 of the games being in Winnipeg. So that's going to be key. Like the Riders can ill afford to lose this. They can ill afford to lose this game against the Bombers in Regina, because I'll just say it. I mean, it's politically incorrect, but I'm just going to say it. The Riders are mental midgets in Winnipeg. They just shrink. They just absolutely shrink when it gets to Winnipeg. I don't know what it is, but they haven't won since 2018.
Yeah, well, like I said, sometimes there's an opponent that you have trouble with. Sometimes there's a place that it's just hard to win at. Like when I played with the Rams back in the day, that was going to Calgary. Like Calgary was never one of the top teams that we had to or in the last year, I guess they beat us in the playoffs. But usually they were like a fourth or fifth place team, but we'd always go to Calgary and it'd be tough to come out of there. Like we'd come out with a 7 or 10 point win, and normally teams like that, you're beating them by 30 back in those days.
So one last point, and then we're going to go here. The Regina Thunder play tomorrow. I'm going to be broadcasting the game with Avery LeBlanc live on Access. I'm looking forward to being back in the broadcast booth, and people can say how much I suck now when they watch it. So turnabout's fair play. It's fine. But they're recognizing Indigenous culture, so they're going to be called the Treaty 4 Thunder for the game. And I think the Edmonton Huskies it's Treaty 6 Huskies for the game. That's what they're going to be called, 4 and 6. I could be wrong about the Huskies, but they are being called Treaty some number Huskies, and it is Treaty 4 Thunder. But here's something we need to talk about. The 2013 Regina Thunder. I had a chance to call it was the only game all year I got to do. Phil Andrews, my friend who used to call Pats games, he was calling Thunder games, and he ended up having to go cover a Pats game, so I got to call the championship game. It's like the guy in the night. Phil did all the work, and they called me out of the bullpen to finish the game off, and I got to call the game when the Thunder won their only championship. I'll never forget. That was one of my broadcasting highlights personally, so it's cool they're going into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, big congratulations to our good friend Scott McCauley. That was his rookie year as head coach at the Thunder. Of course, he had been with the team for a number of years as an assistant coach and defensive coordinator. He was one of the original Thunder players back in 2000. He was a 22-year-old that had played a little bit with the Rams and played a little bit in Germany, and then finished off his career. And so he's just been kind of a lifer with the Thunder. And so that's awesome. Awesome for that team. My son Marcus, that was his rookie year.
Yeah,
he was the 41st guy. So unfortunately, he wasn't dressed for that the national championship game that you called. He was the one guy that was on the roster but not active because he was the 41st guy. But he worked hard that year, and we were really proud of him for the contribution he made to the team and to all the rest of the players and support staff and directors and all the people that were part of the Thunder leading up to that. And then, of course, that 2013 season.
Okay, folks, that's going to do it for our show. I want to thank you, Halsey. You're a great guy. By the way, as payment for helping me, if I got you tickets to the Labor Day game, would you come? You can't.
Probably not. Because I got long weekend. I'm getting ready for school.
What kind of friend is that? What kind of friend is that? I was going to buy you a Blue Bombers hat and have you sit next to me. Sit next to me. Your kid played for the Blue Bombers.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it.
Okay. We'll talk off the air. I put you on. See, I put him on. Now he's guilty. By the way, got this from Pat. Pat says, miss listening to you on the radio. Way better than what's on there now. Okay, well, I can't speak to that because I don't listen. But, Pat, thanks for that.
I can speak, and I do listen, and I think Pat's bang on.
Okay, but I do want to say this. Neither here nor there. Please like and share this show. The best form of flattery, and I appreciate the words, but the best form of flattery and the best form of promotion is by you, like Pat and Jeff and Peter and Sean and Dave and Ryan and Tyler and Kevin and Sean and Nashville and all these people who watch. Please like and share so that we can spread the word, so that what happens is I get some sponsors so that I can pay contributors and pay production people and buy Leander his beer that he needs when he goes camping. Like, I need some sponsorship to continue, and I appreciate all the sponsors on here, because I'm literally not making any money doing this. I'm just doing this because God gives you some skills. Sorry for using Christianity in this, but God gives you some skills. God gives you things that you're potentially good at. That's your gift to give to the world. And I think mine is talking, gift to gab, passion for sports, passion for local. And so this is why I do it. It's kind of a labor of love. I love it. I don't care that it has nothing to do with my kid being in the league. It has nothing to do with any of it. Ryan can vouch for me. I've always been a supporter. I'll always be a supporter, but I can't do it out of the goodness of my heart. I need to be able to at least pay the bills. And we're doing that right now, but we'd like to grow it, just like I hope the league will grow and put in an effort and have that give a shit factor. So like and share this. If you want a sponsor, DM me. If you'd like an Our Balls or Bigger shirt, money going to our friend Glenn Love. It's $25 a shirt. He's battling ALS, played in the CFL. I am about to send him the first batch of money because the shirts are almost out, and I got to order some new shirts. So $25. You can text me or call me, 306-526-7979. I'll get the shirts out. And you can DM me at The Real Ballsy, at Ballsy Uncut on any of the platforms, and I'll get to you that way. Or if you want to sponsor, that'd be great. But just please like and share the show. Thanks to Leander. Thanks to Halsey. I'm Ballsy. We will talk to you after the Labor Day Classic. Thanks for catching the show. A reminder, the best form of promotion is word of mouth. So please tell everybody you know about this show. As we grow this show, we in turn help to grow the game we love, the 3-down game. Catch you next time.